Star Ocean 6 is coming soon, and the commercial looked really cool. And there are, of course, some people out there who thought, that looks cool. What the heck is Star Ocean? And when they looked it up, they found out that this is Star Ocean 6 and wondered if any of the other Star Ocean games are any good. There are people who say you should start with such and such game because that's the beginning of the timeline, or just play them in release order, or this one has the best combat, blah, 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 blah. Those bitches don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to them. Only listen to me. I'm the only one who has the word legendary in my name. Me, not them. You know why you shouldn't listen to them? Because you're an adult who doesn't have time to play the whole series. You don't need to worry about the timeline and shit. You just need to know what kind of game each one is so you can choose the one that suits you. And I'm here to take care of that and only that for you today. I'm not going to go into the history and talk about Tri-Ace guys and all that. Let's just answer the question. Which Star Ocean game should you play? Star Ocean 1 came out on the Super Nintendo only in Japan, as Eric Landon would say. But its remake for the PSP came out in English. It's called Star Ocean First Departure. It's also available on PS4. This is the one Star Ocean game I haven't played to completion. I've played about 20 hours of it, and I had a good time, but it has the exact same combat, skill system, and crafting system as Star Ocean 2. And I feel like Star Ocean 2 does it all better. So you'll have to look elsewhere for more information on Star Ocean 1. My apologies. But I promise you'll know everything you need to know to make a choice between Star Ocean 2, 3, 4, and 5. Star Ocean 2 came out on the PS1. It was called Star Ocean: The Second Story. This game also got a PSP remake. Those are your only options for playing this game. It was not ported to PS4 like Star Ocean 1 was. If you get the PS1 disc, it can be played on a PS1, 2, or 3. This game has pre-rendered backgrounds like those used in PS1 Final Fantasy games. They look awesome and oddly realistic. The characters are 2D sprites, but they do get bigger and smaller as they run closer and farther away from the camera. In battle, the 2D characters run around in a 3D arena. This game is insanely ambitious, especially for its time. The story is the same genre as all Star Ocean games. A dude from Earth finds himself stranded on a planet with development equivalent to the medieval era. There he'll meet a cute girl and several other aliens from this or other planets and get caught up in a quest to save this planet while he searches for a way to return to his own. It is the overall consensus of the Star Ocean fandom that Star Ocean 2 has the best story of them all. This is not a planet-hopping game. You spend most of the game on the first planet, but you will go to another one later. You can choose to play as either the boy from Earth or the girl from the medieval planet. This is a 40 to 50 hour RPG, and there are several sequences where you are separated and you can only see what happened to the character you chose. It's not a massive difference, but it's substantial enough to me to be worth the second play.
Advance forward!
I'm so happy!
Rod has
I'm getting
advanced
something.
forward.
This is no big
Oh,
deal.
it's just them.
They're nothing.
Things will work out
Oh,
somehow.
here's the enemy.
We can win
We
this.
can win this.
The combat in this game is really crazy. It's real-time action and it is quite button mashy. You can win a lot of battles just by attacking over and over. Eventually, you'll get to a boss that is killing you and you'll have to figure out what the heck you're going to do. This game has a lot of different ways to get through tough battles. The way that most players probably prefer is to notice what the enemy does and try to neutralize them. For example, in the early game is a boss battle against two Harfinxes, and they can cast Thunderstorm, which hits your entire party. and it only takes 3 thunderstorms to wipe you all out. You can try and silence them, and if it works, they'll only have their normal attack to use against you. You can also equip accessories that increase your lightning defense. You'll get 2 in this very dungeon. But you have to connect a lot of dots to get to this strategy. You'd have to cast the silence spell over and over again and assume it's going to work because it can fail to silence them over and over again. You have to have found those 2 accessories, which are actually both minerals that normally you would just use for crafting. You have to go into the equipment menu and press the display button to see that they have lightning defense. And you'd have to remember that the name of the attack is Thunderstorm and assume that it is in fact a lightning attack. None of these dots are that difficult to connect in theory, but the question is, do you connect them all when all you've had to do up until this point is mash the attack button? Maybe not. Or maybe you do, and I'm just making up excuses for my own ineffectiveness. Another somewhat obvious option for overcoming challenges is this game's skill system. It's redonkulous. You can invest points into a massive list for various effects. Some skills simply increase your character parameters. Some give you percentage chances to deal more or take less damage. Most of them allow you to learn item creation abilities that let you craft or receive items, armor, weapons, and accessories. If you were stuck on a boss and then you managed to make some stronger equipment, that would get you through the battle. Those are the most likely things you'll turn to when stuck. The thing is, they all require exploration and experimentation, and that's what Star Ocean 2 is all about. There are over 800 items in the game. A large chunk of them don't say what they do. A large chunk of them say what they do, but you won't realize how crazy it is until you try it in battle for yourself. There are 12 recruitable characters in the game. All of them are missable and optional. There are these things called private actions where you can watch cute little scenes that are not critical to the story. Some of them give you completely unique items. There are over 80 ending scenes you can watch because you can set it up so that any 2 characters can be together in the end, either as friends or lovers. You can control the encounter rate. You can play music for various effects. You can cook food to supplement the amount of healing items you have available. You can write books and use them to learn skills, make characters fall in love with each other, or just get them published and collect the royalties. Or you can indulge in a life of crime and steal from everyone in every town. So if you want to play an RPG where you have to wander around, talk to people, try out all the different skills and abilities yourself, and explore everything the game has to offer for yourself, Star Ocean 2 is the one for you. And it comes with button-mashy action combat that is more of a numbers game than a skill game, 2D characters and backgrounds, and battle voices that are hilariously bad. We're talking top tier, worst battle voices. The main negative aspect of this game is that mages are underpowered, and every time you cast a spell, the action pauses while you watch the spell animation. And some of the later spells are over 20 seconds in length. The music is by Motoi Sakuraba, and it's one of his best soundtracks. The battle theme is quite popular. The music really nails it in towns. The instrument samples are really lush, right from the first village of Arlia. Lush is the word that constantly comes to my mind. Tons of strings with bubbly harp lines fill the soundscape. Then you go to Cross Castle, and it has a mind-blowing male choir sample being used in a PS1 game. It sounds awesome. And Rina's theme is considered one of the best songs of Motoi's career. Star Ocean 3 is available for the PS2, and an HD remaster came out on the PS4. It's called Star Ocean: Till the End of Time. This game has some interesting changes to the formula. There is only one main character this time, and his name is Fate Line God, the greatest name of all time. You spend most of this game on one planet, but you do also go to another medieval planet, a moon base, and another dimension. This game also has some longer story scenes that take place on ships in space, giving you more of that Star Trek vibration. I enjoy those a lot. The story is voice acted now, and they somehow managed to keep the campy aspect of the Star Ocean 2 battle voices while simultaneously improving the acting quality. If you don't turn on the option to skip cutscenes before you start the game, you won't be able to skip any cutscenes for the entire game. So if you're a cutscene skipper, turn that on in the new game menu. I love how this game gives you the option to have the dialogue wait for you to press the button after every text box or proceed automatically. All Star Ocean games take place in the same universe, but they are all standalone stories. However, this game has the most infamous plot twist of any game ever. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's a twist that actually affects all other Star Ocean games, and it alters how you view them. I don't know if it's well written or not. The execution for sure is really lackluster. You learn the most life-altering bombshell of all time in a really weird and mundane setting, and the reactions from the characters are surprisingly lukewarm, I'd say. It does have foreshadowing, though. People have claimed it's bad because it just comes from out of nowhere, and I don't know what they're talking about. If you play the game again, you can see all the things that are related to the plot twist before it happens. The graphics have gone full 3D, and they look great, especially the towns. All the new killer moves have excellent animations. The music has amazing sound quality. A list of musicians can be seen in the ending credits, so I guess there are a lot of real-life instruments this time. Several of my favorite video game tracks of all time are on this soundtrack. Starless Wavelets, The Divine Spirit of Language, and Bird's Eye View. It's too bad this game, like 99% of RPGs, has dedicated battle music that plays for every regular encounter. The crazy crafting system is back, and it's a big step down in some ways and a great leap forward in others. The bad is that you no longer just choose ingredients and see what you can get like before. Before, you could use the metalwork ability on a piece of orichalcum and get one of 3 pieces of equipment out of it. Now, you choose an amount of money and see what you can make. It doesn't sound that different when I put it like that, but it's a hell of a lot easier to figure out all the things you can make with a piece of orichalcum than it is with 5,398 fall. Because you can make the same things at 5,455 fall. But then you won't be able to make some of those things at 5,800 fall. But now you can make some new things as well. You see how much trouble this can become, right? I say you need a guide to craft in Star Ocean 3. In Star Ocean 2, if you like the crafting system enough and you're willing to bust out a pen and paper, you can find all the useful things to craft on your own. In Star Ocean 3, it would be a massive time sink. And even if you have a guide, you can't just make whatever you want immediately. Every time you push the button, the amount of gold you're going to spend on creating something changes to a random amount. You can't just input the amount you need to spend to make the thing. So that's the worst aspect of the crafting system. The better part is the refining and synthesizing. This is freaking cool. Every piece of armor, equipment, has 8 slots for effects. In the case of armor, you might find a piece of armor with 20 defense and an effect that says defense plus 5. So that means you actually have 25 defense, which is nice. But if you refine that armor once, you'll have 2 defense plus 5 factors. If you successfully refine it again, you will have 4. And if you have the money and good enough luck to be able to do it again, you can have 8 factors of defense plus 5 on your armor. Now you have 60 defense instead of 25. In the case of weapons, you aren't even restricted to the factors already on the weapon. You can put almost any factor you want from any other item. Things like increased attack, increased critical hits, elemental properties, and more. So the crafting system will be awesome to you if you can deal with the random money thing. You also have to hire inventors in various towns to help you make things. You can't just make the best things with only your party members. Most importantly is the combat. It's the most technical and skill-based of all Star Ocean games. The regular attack has been expanded into 4 different regular attacks. Weak long range, weak short range, strong long range, and strong short range. These can be strung together into combos, but certain moves don't chain into other moves, so you have to do some experimentation. You also have expanded the number of killer moves you can use. In Star Ocean 2, it was 1 move on R1 and 1 move on L1. Now you can set 4 on weak or strong power and long or short range. If you tap the weak attack button while at long range, you'll do the weak long range regular attack. If you hold the button, you'll do the killer move that you set to your weak long range slot. These can also be chained with regular attacks and other killer moves. Unlike regular moves, every killer move you chain deals a lot more damage than the previous one. If you can chain 5 of them, the 5th one will deal triple damage. Eventually, you'll find a killer move that can be chained with itself, and you can spam it over and over again. Admittedly, this works pretty well, but it isn't foolproof. There is still something you have to be careful of. Both you and the enemies have a stamina gauge. It's actually called a fury gauge, but it works exactly like a stamina gauge. Every time you attack, it gets depleted by a small amount. When you've run out of stamina or fury, you'll have to stop moving and rest for a bit. Unlike the Dark Souls stamina gauge, this one won't replenish while you're running, so you'll have to remain completely still and thus completely defenseless for a bit. The crazy thing about this gauge is that when it is full, it completely protects you from weak attacks. You can use this as a strategy to block and counter enemies. You have to keep an eye on the stamina of your enemies, because any killer move set to the weak attack button can be completely blocked by their barrier. And blocked attacks result in either you being dizzied, taking a bunch of damage, or healing the enemy. And all killer move chains must begin with a weak killer move. The last really important thing about Star Ocean 3 combat is the newly added bonus gauge. Every time you hit an enemy, it fills a little bit. The stronger the enemy is compared to your party, the more it increases. If you are fighting enemies that are too weak, it won't increase at all. If you can fill it up all the way, you'll get 1 of 4 bonuses. For every 5 battles you fight with the bonus gauge intact, you'll gain another bonus until you have all 4 of them. The bonuses are increased healing of HP and MP automatically after battles, increased enemy drops from battles, double the money, and here's the real kicker, triple experience points. With triple experience, you can level up real damn fast, but it is quite difficult to keep the gauge, for all it takes to shatter completely is taking 1 critical hit. Regular attacks can crit you more often than you would expect, so be careful. That's Star Ocean 3 combat in a nutshell. Some miscellaneous details are that mages are still weaker than melee characters. Magic no longer pauses the action. Hell yeah. There are many recruitable characters again, and each one fights completely differently. Here's a quick little mind blow for you. If either you or the enemy hits 0 MP, you fucking die. Didn't expect to hear that, did you? You can use your moves over and over to power them up separately, just like in Star Ocean 2. You have 3 characters in battle instead of 4 now. Your computer-controlled characters can die easily, but you can spend points to level up their HP, MP, offensive AI, and defensive AI. They will eventually become brutal killing machines. The battle system is such that it is possible to win battles taking 0 damage with your controlled character. So it is possible to do solo challenges in this game. That's what you need to know about Star Ocean 3. If you play this game for the first time and see that plot twist, you gotta contact me and let me know what you think of it. Now we're up to Star Ocean 4, The Last Hope. This one came out on Xbox 360, PS3, and PS4. It might be on Steam too, actually. The PS4 version is slightly prettier and the loading times are a bit shorter than the other console versions. I really can't recommend the Xbox version because you can freely fly between multiple planets in this game, and every time you go to certain planets, you'll have to swap discs. PS3 version only has 1 disc. PS4 version can be downloaded. This one is a lot less crazy than the first 2. Very well balanced, far less cryptic systems, and far less difficulty spikes. The negative aspect of this game, according to everybody else, is that the characters are just way too anime tropish. It never really bothered me, but upon multiple replays, most of the dialogue scenes now feel boring for me. As cheesy as Star Ocean 3 dialogue was, I still don't find it boring. A lot of people don't like the story. I thought it was fine though. The graphics are looking better than ever, as with all Star Ocean games. The music is still solid, Motoi Sakuraba, but there are less standout tracks in my opinion. Just like in Star Ocean 1, you go to the planet Roke in this game, and while you're there, you can listen to several orchestral remixes of Star Ocean 1 musical themes. Nice. The exploration is pretty good. This time you go to 7 or so different planets, so plenty of variety there. The combat party has been increased to 4 members again. It's a lot easier to get the hang of. It is more button meshy than SO3. The main method of attack this time will be your killer moves. Now, you can set 3 to the L2 button and 3 more to R2. All killer moves combo into each other. They also combo into themselves, so you can just set your strongest one to all 6 slots if you want. The combat happens all in real time, and now there are 4 party members, so it can get pretty chaotic. Visually, the best looking combat. The character movement animations look downright amazing to me. With all your guys and the enemies fighting all in real time, there is seriously no camera angle good enough to capture its chaotic beauty. There are a couple of new mechanics now. The Fury Gauge from Star Ocean 3 is gone and replaced with the Rush Gauge. When it fills up, you can enter Rush Mode. Rush Mode lasts for about 12 seconds. You'll have increased movement speed, increased attack speed, more defense, increased critical hit rate, and enemy hits don't interrupt your attacks. Enemies have it too. It seems like it should be a total obstruction of your tactics, but you can just run away from the enemy until their rush mode is over. The other new mechanic is blindsiding your enemy. By holding a button down, you'll become stationary and charge up your rush gauge. When an enemy is targeting you and in close range, you can move the analog stick to do an evasive maneuver. It goes in slow motion and shows you immediately running to behind the enemy. Then you can attack from there and have a very high chance to score multiple critical hits. It sounds dumb when I explain it and you think about it happening in real life, but in the game it's fun to do. Lastly, regarding combat is the bonus board. It was a gauge in Star Ocean 3, but now it's a board. You can fill it up to get plus 140% experience, plus 140% money, or plus 14 skill points from every battle. It's pretty sweet. The ultimate appeal of the game to me is how sweet the grind is. There are so many things to level up and pump points into. There's your character level, the level of each individual killer move, the level of your support skills, the level of your fighting style, the level of your item crafting skills, and the level of your item harvesting skills. That's right, item creation is back. This time, it's more straightforward than ever. You have a recipe, you get all the ingredients, you can make the item. Simple as that. One of the ways you obtain the ingredients is by harvesting them at specific points in each world. You can increase your harvesting abilities to have higher chances to get more items from each harvest point. Synthesis is also back, and it is insane. Now, you can put any factor onto any piece of equipment. 4 on each piece of equipment for a total of 16. Also, the game never tells you this, but whenever you synth something onto another thing, the second thing gets increased stats. You can use this to make your beginning weapon useful even in the late game. So now synthesis is not useful. It's useful not just for factors, but for your stats as well. That's awesome. Last up is Star Ocean 5, Integrity and Faithlessness. It sounds all dramatic. The producer of Star Ocean 5 says it's some deep, meaningful shit. But I didn't see it, and I don't think anyone else has either. It's on PS3 and PS4. Star Ocean 5 is considered the worst Star Ocean game. I agree with this sentiment. They took the strong and weak attack system of Star Ocean 3, but they made a bunch of changes that turn it more button mashy. We've gone back to 4 killer moves, just like in Star Ocean 3. You don't have to use a weak attack to combo into killer moves anymore. There is no fury gauge anymore. Now there's a block button. And the idea is that you're supposed to use blocking, weak attacks, and strong attacks in a rock, scissors, paper relationship. Weak attacks beat strong attacks because they come out quicker. Strong attacks break through guarding, and guarding stops weak attacks. Sounds really solid, right? Problem is that battles are too fast and chaotic to use this technique. How chaotic are we talking? Well, instead of 4 party members in combat, now we have 7! Chaotic enough for you? You can certainly try to focus on having the rock, scissors, paper duel with just one enemy, and it might work as intended. But in the meanwhile, your 6 other party members have to keep all the other enemies busy and not target the enemy you're targeting and not get killed. Unfortunately, there are a lot of situations in which they can die easily. The most original aspect of Star Ocean 5 is the new roll system, which in my opinion incentivizes you not to bother with the rock, paper, scissors combat. The roll system is a really great idea. It's one of the very few systems that is designed to affect your companion AI. The more I say the word AI, the more I realize that the way characters in video games behave is not AI, it's just a program. The rule system levels up your companion's battle programming. Star Ocean 3 had this to a simpler degree. In Star Ocean 3, you could pump points into just 2 battle programs, offense and defense, and the overall effectiveness of your characters would improve. Now we put points into dozens of different roles, and they all change your stats and battle tactics. There are roles that tell the character to use more strong attacks and less weak attacks, more long range and less short range, more killer moves and less regular moves, more healing and less attacking, and all the vice versas. There are roles that increase your various attributes. And then there are roles that just make you invincible. I'm not joking. There is a role that just makes you invincible. It's called Dead Man Walking. Look it up. You might want to complain about your allies' battle programming in the beginning of the game, but in the late game, you can literally just stand still and watch your other 6 allies annihilate everything that moves. Item creation is back, and it's just like Star Ocean 4. Synthesis is basically the same, but it's called augmentation now. And the new type of item creation, which is now called synthesis, goes like this. You stick 6 items in the pot, and one of several new items pops out. Every item has a quality rating and an impurity rating. Putting 6 items in the pot will add these values together, and they determine what you can make. Some of the best equipment you can make is made by putting in items that total over 50 quality and 0 impurity, for example. There is no way to know what you can get without trial and error, so you have to save and load over and over if you don't use a guide or have all the money in the galaxy. The game takes place on just one planet. It's only a 30-hour game, much shorter than 3 and 4, and a bit shorter than 2. There are 7 characters total, and all are mandatory, and all take part in combat. Most of the character moves are lifted straight from Star Oceans 3 and 4, as are several musical themes. If you haven't played any other Star Ocean games, then you probably don't need to care about that. It cheapened the experience for me, though. This is the only Star Ocean game that doesn't have a screen transition when entering battle. You battle right there on the field you were exploring. The music still transitions, unfortunately. In my opinion, if you aren't interested in the grind of getting your characters so strong they can take care of everything all on their own through the role system, you don't need to choose Star Ocean 5. So let's review. Star Ocean 2, the most freedom. You can go to many towns completely out of order and shop there and everything. After you finally set out on your quest from the first town, you have access to 5 other towns. And the entire second planet is straight up open world. Because of the abundance of valuable items available for purchase, the beautiful graphics, and the excellent town themes, Star Ocean 2 has my favorite towns of any game ever. It has the most optional content. There are not very many "but thou must" moments in this game. 12 whole characters, all with completely different regular and killer moves. The most interesting items and equipment. You can totally change the game up with certain ones. Items that send a slow rolling boulder toward the enemy. Swords that shoot projectiles. Items that give you more items infinitely just by walking around. It's crazy, brah. The 2D pre-rendered backgrounds have that PS1 nostalgia, as do the hilariously bad voice lines. And the best story, according to the overall fan base. The bad is that the battles are very button mashy. It's pretty hard to figure out how to get your money's worth out of the crafting system. There are only 2 planets you visit, and there are some crazy difficulty spikes. I recommend this game for people who want to get a pen and paper and dive deep into its plethora of systems with experimentation. The person who likes doing that will be extremely rewarded by Star Ocean 2. Star Ocean 3 has the longest and probably the most fleshed out story. It has the craziest plot twist of any video game. Lots of long cutscenes of varying entertainment value with anime-level voice acting. Similar to Xenosaga. It even has Crispin Freeman doing his classic evil laugh and calling everyone maggots. The most OP bonus gauge, if you can maintain it and get triple experience points from a boss battle. You can make some interesting character builds in the end game if you put in the time and money. This is the most skill-based Star Ocean game, and the soundtrack is among Motoi's best. But the plot twist is poorly executed. The crafting system has that horrible random money thing, and you have to hire inventors, and these things make crafting convoluted. It still takes place mostly on a single planet, and there are difficulty spikes. I recommend it for people that want to get good at avoiding damage through baiting attacks, running around, blocking, finding combos, and keeping the bonus gauge alive to get sick experience. Perhaps you'll enjoy all the outer space story cutscenes and that crazy plot twist like I did. Star Ocean 4 has the greatest variety of planets. You don't spend enough time on any one of them to consider it the main planet of the game, which is great. 4 has the most solid grind ever. You constantly level up aspects of your character while constantly having more aspects to level up. It's straight up addiction. The battle system is not cryptic or confusing at all anymore, and there are no more difficulty spikes. The crafting system simply involves collecting ingredients for the recipes. There aren't any more high failure rates involved, nor is there any mystery regarding what items you can make. The synthesis system can be used to add both effect factors and stats to your equipment. I love it. It has the best graphics of the 3D Star Ocean games, thanks in great part to those sweet battle animations. If you look up screenshots of Star Ocean 4, they all look like carefully crafted scenarios. In reality, however, it is fast-moving, action-packed combat that doesn't really give you much time to take in the scene. The characters are considered overly tropey and annoying by many players. The combat can be button mashy, but you can at least make it so that with every button you mash, something different happens instead of the same move over and over again. And the side quests are quite boring. All of them are just bring me some number of some item, and then you get rewarded. I recommend this game for people who want the feel-good experience of running around on open fields, enjoying the scenery, and fighting lots of battles to fill up your bonus board with the thing you want to grind. Star Ocean 5 has the roll system, which is an awesome form of leveling up not only your parameters, but your ally battle strategies as well. I totally enjoyed grinding skill points for my rolls and then watching my 6 other allies do all the work for me. But that's all it's got going for it over other Star Ocean games. So if grinding the roll system sounds like fun to you, then I can recommend Star Ocean 5 to you. But I would say that other Star Ocean games are better. If you have an interest in Star Ocean and would like to play one of these crazy games, I hope this video has helped you make the right decision. Let me know if you decide to try one. This has been the Legendary Zoltan.